So I'm extremely excited to have as my first guest on my first show, Kristen Fourie, but I would like to say Fourie, Kristen Fourie. No? All
Sure.
right, Kristen Fourie.
I answer to all those things.
Do you? Do you? Yeah. So Kristen was amazing. Kristen has been involved in the association world for quite a while, both on the property management side and helping promote different vendors, putting on luncheons, and I mean, honestly, canathons, giving CEU classes for CAMs, property managers, kind of a little bit of everything. So I've told you this before, but it was so important for me to have you as my first guest because I think you are so valuable to this community. You really do provide so many services across the board for every aspect of it, but also you have inspired me to get into this side of this ecosystem. And for those of you that don't know, Kristen does regular monthly luncheons um, and has panels discussing current events about associations. It could be about the latest legislative updates, could be about preparing for hurricanes. How do you do that as an association? Does this every month, been doing this for a long time across the state for different areas. And I have been honored to actually take over the hosting role for Naples and Fort Myers this year. So thank you, Kristen, for that. I love doing those. I think they're so valuable. Everybody gets a lot of information out of them, but it's also a way just to kind of help build that community and know that you're not alone out there. You're not on an island, especially as a board member. Sometimes you feel a little isolated. So it's nice to get together with other board members, with other experts in the industry. So again, it was very important for me to have you as my first guest. So welcome. I want you to tell all the listeners a little more about yourself and your background, and away we go.
Will do. Wow, what an intro. I mean, thank you so much for allowing me to be your first guest. This is so exciting. And I love watching you come into your element, what really, makes you shine. I mean, you talk about the can luncheons. We met through a friend, a mutual friend in the industry. And then I said, well, hey, this guy is going to come on my panels and talk about all things Cam World. So, that was our first real experience of seeing you, shine in your speaking roles and knowing what you're talking about, putting a spin on it, making people laugh, and just keeping us entertained. So, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is great. So again, how did you get into this world? It's a very unique ecosystem, as I said, and it almost seems like it's um, one of those experiences. Once you get in, there's so many avenues and there's so much to it. I Before I even came down to Florida, I didn't know what this was. I had no experience. I'm from Wisconsin. I think we have maybe 3.5 associations in the
Right.
entire state of Wisconsin. So
Right.
when I came down here, I had no clue about any of that. But
Same.
now that I'm in it, oh my God, it's its own world. It truly is.
It really is. And if you're say an outsider, a board member coming down from a different state and you get on the board or something like that, boy, are your eyes open to this whole new world because it is so heavily regulated. So it's exciting though to see the different directions that people can go. You and I are both cams. You're a cam, right?
Still a licensed cam. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so it's when you get into that role, and inundated with the day to day, it's hard to see that there's so many different avenues in the industry, but it's fun.
So you started in kind of in the back office though, right?
I did. I had a little one and I really wanted to be there for my kids and picking up. So I just wanted something part time. And the mutual friend that I spoke about before, I can mention her, Alex Turner. She's amazing. And
She is. Yes.
she hired me. She didn't know what she was thinking at the time, but she did take a chance on me because I didn't have my license. I didn't know anything about this world. And and she just put me to work. So I learned the industry so well in the 2 years that I was with her because I was doing accounting APAR. I was doing the violation letters. I was doing setting up the board meetings and all the letters for elections. So I learned everything from soup to nuts, I guess they would say. And
Yeah.
and found out definitely the things I didn't want to do, which was accounting. It's really hard. It's not your normal type of accounting. It's HOA and condo accounting. Journal entries are terrible. And so I hated it. So I definitely didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do budgeting. Funny enough, our topic this month is budgets. We're in budget
Yes, it is.
season. I know about
Yeah.
it. I just don't want to do it. So, just going through
It is
that.
that is a unique like you said, accounting, but it's HOA accounting. It is a different beast. I
Mhm.
know that I've come across many board members who are accountants and they think, oh, okay, well, I'll just be the treasurer and I've got this, but it is a whole different side of it. You have to almost learn all over again.
Yeah, the categories that you put your vendors in, I mean, it comes down to it's a lot of things, and, math makes me cry. It really makes me sad, except when I'm getting paid for something, and that makes me really happy, but that's it. Other than that, I don't make me do math. It hurts my
Yeah.
brain. So, I knew I didn't wanna do that. While I was with Alex, and her business was really growing, she was just a little mom and pop at the time. I did get an offer from another company, and unfortunately, she could not match that, so I moved to another company. But the great thing was, and you know this, you keep those relationships because, um, my new company had a threshold and a minimum that I had to stay above. So, for sales, anything that came in the door underneath that, I sent it to Alex. And then her
Mhm.
company grew and tripled. And then, of course,
Yeah.
happy story, she was acquired by Associate.
Right.
So,
Right.
now she's moving on up the chain there, so.
Oh, she is. She's doing well and well deserved. One of my
Right?
favorite people.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people for sure. So then after you went to this other company, um, what then?
You know, um, just going out into the business development side, which is what I was placed under, director of marketing,
Okay.
loved it, just loved it. I loved having all the, information with the legislative changes and the regulations. I loved all of that. But I ended up really liking sales. And I really got into that role and, just the flexibility of the targets we wanted to acquire. And through that, I met a lot of board members. And just through the vendor relationships and the board members and the questions that would come out like, can we do this? No, you can't do that. Well, our CAM says that we can. Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
How about you ask the association attorney? Let's do it that way.
Yeah.
And just the need for education, where some of these, organizations, the board members just weren't really getting into. As CAMs, we like to hang out with our buddies. So if we're going to go to a luncheon, we don't want our board members there. So a lot of these things didn't invite the board members. So at the end of my stay at the other management company, I just really thought I actually had a mentor. So you talk about, inspiring people and passing it on. I think that's so important. And another thing that I love to do, I know you do too. And I knew this one girl, and she had a portfolio of service providers that she represented. She wasn't a CAM. She just had, instead of representing one company, she had 4 or 5.
Sure.
And,
Okay.
she was well known in this area and everybody loved her. And so when I was starting to put my feelers out there about what I wanted to do next, that's what I wanted to do. So I approached her and I said, what do you think about me doing what you're doing? And so not to offend her and be like, watch out, here I come. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But to say, but what if we did it in a way where we weren't in competition, but we really helped each other? And that was my promise to her that she was going to help me get my business off the ground. And in turn, well, as long as she was in business, I would not take on a client that competed with hers. And we worked together and it was great.
Yeah, it is so important to have a mentor. There's several people in this industry that I look up to, you being one, and I've learned a lot from all of these people. And what's nice is now that I've been in the industry for quite a while, I'm able to offer that to other people. So I have younger people that are looking to me or asking me questions about, how to do things, or where can I go and find that out, or how do you feel about this? And I love the chance to give back, but I still talk to my mentors. It's funny. I mean, that's a life journey, not just this industry, but in this industry, there's so much to know. It's helpful to know who to at least ask. And if they don't have the answer, like I always tell people, if I don't have the answer, I'll know where to at least get the answer for you.
Right. Absolutely.
So now you're still obviously doing luncheons, you're still working with different vendors. Um, and then up in Tampa, you've got kind of a new endeavor.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was something I was approached a couple years ago. I think it was in maybe 2021 to run an organization called BMI. And BMI was struggling. They had 4 chapters in the state. They were struggling in 3 of the 4, and the 4th one was just barely on the last leg. And the director in Tampa was leaving. She approached me and she said, "Do you want to do it?" I said, "Sure." So I took that on. With the corporate restraints on that, we did it for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And then the board just kind of dissolved there too. It was a corporate overhead type of situation where I'm not, used to dealing with that, and I'm
yeah,
kind of responsible for my own thing. So it was kind of difficult to work under. So we dissolved, but then last year the old board came to me and said, "Let's start a new thing." So one of
yeah,
the gals was an attorney. She drew up the bylaws and all the paperwork, and we're off and running. We started in November of 2024. We have about 100 people coming every month. So we just had
that's
one today.
great.
And our big event is the Cammies, which I wish they would do this in every area, because with my cam side, I just feel like you're so under recognized for all the
Yeah.
work that you do as a cam. I mean, it used to be underpaid. I'm glad to hear the pay is coming up for cams now. Could come up.
It's not what it was when I first started, I can
Oh,
tell you
isn't
that.
it ridiculous? Is it crazy?
I would've had a big smile on my face back then, but again, they earn
Yes.
every penny.
And so we do a Cammy event. It's an awards dinner, and we have about 10 categories. We give We collect money throughout the year for an educational fund. So we help CAMs further their, careers for in any way that they want to do. We just hand them a
Great.
big fat check. And so it's just fun. We're doing Havana nights. So I got to take salsa lessons. Like, I'm really getting into it. I keep saying that, but I haven't done it yet.
No, no. I'm sure you're a natural. I'm sure you're a natural.
My hips lie a little bit. So I don't know about that.
Fibbers.
Well, these are the fun things we get
So
to do. So
I love that though, because it is, I mean, and I say this to everybody, whether you're a board member or a property manager, you don't get the appreciation that I feel that they both deserve. It it's tough. I mean, you are putting yourself out there, you're trying to solve problems, you're trying to make everybody happy. Cams, as we talked about, the pay is starting to become better. Still probably not where it needs to be.
right.
And then board members don't get paid. Uh, and it's tough. I have so much respect for people that get into this industry and that volunteer, especially like a board member. You get into it for the reason of, hey, I want to make my community better. I want to contribute. And in return, you get the joy of getting complaints and um Facebook comments and all of that. You get a bullseye on your back. So you know that people that are board members are in it for the right reasons, because there would be no other reason except just to try to help your community.
Right? Especially
I
now with all the regulations, even for board members.
that's another thing. The last couple of years, since Surfside is really what kind of kicked that off. It started with a lot of changes because of Surfside, and that affected reserves. It affected structural integrity, but it seems like it just kept rolling, where um, a lot of aspects of being on a board have become a little harder, a little more complicated, a little more liability attached. So, yeah, anybody that raises their hands, I have mad respect for somebody that will do that. I know when I was an active CAM property manager, um, I was living in a condo at that time. Now I'm not in an association, but I was in a condominium complex, and they asked me if I wanted to be on the board. It was hard for me to choke back the laughter, because I thought, no, 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 I do this all day, almost 24/7 now, and you want me to do it in any possible off time that I have?
Where I
That is
live.
probably not a good idea.
Yeah, where I live. The only peace
Yeah,
I have in life right here.
yeah, yeah. The only sanctuary. No, no, no. I have a bullseye on my back at work.
Anyway,
I don't want it at home
right.
too. But no, I have a lot of respect for board members and property managers. People don't realize. I know when I first got into it, I mean, I had no clue. Um, and I realized in a hurry, you have so many hats that you have to wear. Now, I've always been entrepreneurial. I've owned my own businesses, like yourself, very entrepreneurial. So I'm used to wearing a bunch of different hats. But as a property manager, it is amazing that you have to be, you know, an accountant, even though you're not officially doing the books, right? But you still have to be an accountant. You
At
have to
least you
be
have to
a
know
maintenance person.
a
You have to,
working knowledge of it.
yeah, yeah, a poor man's accountant. How's that? A
Get it.
poor man's attorney, a poor man's whatever, everything. Just a lot of respect. So that's one of the reasons that I really kind of fell in love with what you are doing as far as education. I've been a big proponent of education and mentoring, as we talked about. And I love the idea of getting that information from the experts out to everybody, because
Right.
not everybody knows where to get that. So to go to a luncheon, to go to a seminar or a webinar online, or in this case, a podcast or a radio show, and hear it from the experts, that's the way you're going to be successful for your community. And that's something that
Absolutely.
you inspired me. You inspired
Oh.
me on that.
Well, yeah, it's funny when I started doing, I started my business as a, representative on behalf of a portfolio of clients to the association industry, kept my license the whole time. And then I realized, oh, we need a platform to get everybody together, even administrative assistants, maintenance, your general managers, along with your CAMs, and the board members. We all need to get together to see, to sort of have a new respect for each other.
Yeah.
You have the situation where when you're isolated, you have the board members saying to the managers, we need to cut costs, we need to cut things back. Go to your vendors and say, if you want to keep this job, and you know how well that works. I mean, prices go up for everyone. So when you have a mutual respect of what everybody does and what they're willing to do for you and what they're the services that they are providing, you get along so much better. You just have a better understanding of what's out there.
Well, that's it. It kind of goes back to, if there's a heavy load and you have a lot of people carrying it, it makes it easier for everybody. Everybody needs to know these things, whether it's what the latest updates are from Tallahassee, whether it's, how do you find the best vendor? Who can you trust out there? Who are the law firms that deal specifically with associations, because that's a whole specialty of its own. And when you're all together and you're learning these things, and you can be able to talk to other board members and other experts, it makes this so much easier. I always recommend get involved with all of the groups. If you're a board member, or if you're just, if you're in the business professionally, get involved with a CAI, get involved with groups like yourself can. Um,
Absolutely. And we try to
there's,
not step on toes. I mean, there's a lot that provide those CEUs for the managers and what we need. And those are all good. I attend those myself. But there's, the thing that I liked doing and what I started doing, I actually stumbled into this. It wasn't on purpose, but I saw that it was going to be good and I wanted to keep doing it. And I do a panel discussion at my groups. I get the topic from every angle that you could possibly look at it. And then I make the discussion interactive with the audience. So if you have an issue going on at your property, you know what your attorney said, but you get 5 different attorneys, they're gonna give you 5 different answers a lot of times.
yeah,
You can read an article, but just to get that, all-encompassing, opinion from all the experts is so good. And how I stumbled onto that is I actually had a client that was doing a breakfast on his own, and he said, "Hey, I want you to run this breakfast for me." And I said, "Okay." And I went in there and did the venue stuff and got the food all set up and got his podium ready and everything. And he was the only speaker at the time. But he was calling people who were sponsors in the audience to answer certain questions that the people in the audience had. And so I said, wow, we really need to do a panel discussion, right? This is what we need to be doing. So I talked him into it and we broadened it to a panel discussion. So we had the topic all laid out, and the second meeting, the panelists just sat there. I'm like, what's happening? And my friend, actually, one of my colleagues elbowed me, and she was another great mentor that I had. And she said, Kristen, seriously, somebody needs to be moderating this thing. This is going nowhere. And they were just all staring at each other. I'm like, talk, what are you doing? Fix something. It was so awkward, but I tell you what, by maybe the third or fourth one, I got in there and I started moderating and just tossing out and just having an agenda of where the conversation was going to go, but also giving them the freedom to talk about what they knew and their stories and, let the audience, chime in. And
see
that's how
that,
Pan was born.
and that's the thing. I think so. There's two sides to learning, right? There's the book smart type, the CEU class where it's very boom, 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 right down the line. And then there's the real life experience, the real world experience. And if you don't have all that experience, by being with other people who do, and by hearing their stories and being able to ask them questions, for me, that's more valuable. I mean, I know when
Absolutely.
I got my CAM license, excuse me, I passed it. I had my license in my hand. I went out to get my first job in this industry, and I didn't know anything. I passed the test. I read the material. It, that goes out the window when you're actually, dealing with real life situations.
Yeah,
It's from being with other people and learning directly from them. That's why I think these are so valuable. And I
absolutely.
appreciate so much that you started this whole panel discussion for this world. It's people. I'll tell you what, um, I get a lot of feedback from hosting the CAN events in my area, and it is so positive, and people get so much out of it, and you can just tell, you can just see their faces, if they ask a question and they get a real life answer, not the book answer, but a real life answer. You can see it click, and almost a sense of relief that, oh, okay, they get it. So I just love that format. I'm so up on that format.
I mean, I live it too. I'm still a cam, even though I'm not in the field. And I want to help people and I want to be able to answer those questions. But you know what? I'm at the point now. I'm in my 10th year now. And I'm looking at things where, we'll have a discussion and I learned something. I'm like, really? Is that really real? Oh. And then you see the other people in the audience that have been cams for years saying, I didn't know that. And I love
Oh,
those moments.
those happen to me more often than I want to admit.
Right. It's
I think, oh, I've seen it all. No, no. there's always something where the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm here and I'm hosting it, but I learned something from somebody on the panel, and I'm
Right.
I'm thinking, well, that's great. And so we were talking about CEU classes, and you hold the Canathon, which I had the privilege of doing here a few weeks back. It's an all day event,
You're
eight
like, "Wow, I
classes.
get to work from home today," right? But it's not like that, right?
Really,
And
not
I
like-
haven't connected with you. How was it? How'd it go?
look, yeah, really. Actually, we haven't even talked about that, have we? Really? It was long. It's a long day, but I'll tell you what, I learned something from every class. I listening to everyone, and I came out smarter and more educated at the end. So a little bit tired. Who
Right.
knew that sitting all day listening to people speak would be tiring? But it was.
Come on, it's not just that. I mean, what people don't know out there about the Canathon is like, well, somebody ended early, so just start the next class. You really can't, because then you
No.
have Joe Smith that only signed up for course 2, and he really needs that CEU. So you have to
Yeah.
on time, and you have
Yeah.
people that end super early. So you got to fill in that gap, and you better have some questions ready. You better hope there's a lot of questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Or if you have the insurance guy, sorry, insurance guys, I love you. We need you. But at the same time, nobody wants to ask that question. Nobody. So I'm sitting there going, "Oh, we got to fill this time in," so many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. You get up the top hat, the tails, and the cane. You start dancing and tap dancing around. Yeah. No, that's always good. But I really enjoyed it. Actually, I did. I
Oh,
really enjoyed
good.
it. I thought it was a lot of great information, great turnout. Um, and then what's nice is obviously as a cam, hey, I need CEU classes too. So
Right?
I
Right?
happen to be listening to the course. I might as well put in for
Might as well get your credit.
my own credits. Yeah, exactly. So I ask this of people in this industry because there's been a lot of changes, and we kind of touched upon after Surfside, there was definitely from the regulatory side, there's been a lot of changes over the last couple of years. Technology's a big one. A spreadsheet just doesn't cut it when it comes to accounting, but it's amazing to me all of the things that I see coming, whether it's with AI or whether it's all the different softwares out there, even for putting in RFP together, a request for proposal. There's companies that specialize just in that. They will make sure that, they'll get an RFP, they'll get the bids, they'll help put it together. There's been a lot of changes. Where do you see the industry going? I mean, it's growing, obviously. Florida is growing leaps and bounds right now. But as a whole, where do you kind of see the industry going?
After COVID, I saw, and you did too, I'm sure, such an exodus of people saying, "I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm not getting paid for this job. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm getting yelled at, and it's not an emergency." And I've been home during COVID with my family, and I kind of like being happy. So I'm out of here. There were so many,
Yeah.
and we still even now have such a shortage of cams, assistant cams available. I mean, you talk about getting your license and going to get a job. Luckily, I started on the ground floor where for 2 years, I knew what I was doing before I even thought about stepping out there. Um, but nowadays, you can get your CAM license, and 6 months later, you could be on a high rise with cooling towers on salt water,
Yeah.
and you don't have any maintenance guy or general manager, building manager. You really better study up because you've got to protect those assets, and it's a lot. So,
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that from the cam point of view. I I mean, I'm very passionate about this industry, and I introduced it to two of my children, who both are licensed cams
really
now. Yeah, and one of them has worked his way up into a regional director role.
nice.
The other one's working uh, as an assistant on site right now. He's newer into the industry. But I told them, I said, this is such an amazing industry. It's again, it's not a walk in the park. You work hard. There is a lot of stress, but the industry is such a great industry. There's so many good people in it, and I mean genuinely
Really,
good
really
people
is. Yeah.
that care.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a golden ticket right now. It is there is a shortage, and if you have motivation and if you have some brains, um, think about getting into property management. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean,
you can,
back in the day when I got into it, if you were a portfolio manager, you could be loaded up with upwards of 15 properties. And you
yeah,
know that you cannot be a successful CAM running. I mean, maybe superstars can. I've seen people do it and
yeah,
they're excellent in organization and consolidating things. But if you have attention to detail and a little bit of perfectionism, it'll drive you nuts because you're just putting out fires. And you asked me where I thought the industry was going. Back then it was overloaded. Now we have a shortage. So I'm thinking probably CAMs are really loaded down now with properties because there is such a shortage. So where do we go? I mean, we're going to have to take a big left turn to technology land, and
yeah,
AI is going to be a part of that. I was talking to someone the other day, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but it was almost a genius idea of where the
yeah,
management industry is going, and it's all very technology based.
yeah, yeah, and I think for me, and I've seen cams again have 15 or more properties for portfolio. And for those of you that don't know, portfolio is when one cam has a bunch of properties and they are going in between property to property and making sure that everything's running smoothly. But for me, I think 8 to 10 is about the top end where you can actually be effective.
Right. Agreed.
But there is a shortage, so there has to be something that one thing that I wish there would be more of is, community colleges or just colleges in general. This is such a great avenue for a young person to become educated and get into. And the starting pay, as we just mentioned, isn't what it used to be. It's a healthy starting pay because of the shortage. So you can actually get in with not a lot of experience and you can be making, 75,000. And within a year, you could be making six figures. I mean, it really is that kind of an industry
It
right
really
now.
is.
And I tell younger people that I meet, look into it. At least
Yeah.
look into it.
Agreed.
I think you'll be surprised. It's rewarding, not just financially, but I mean just on the human level, it's very rewarding. And there's so many opportunities into it. But technology for sure has to pick up the slack moving forward.
Yeah, and they started a few years back with the sync, and the automated banking kind of services and the software, with the town square type of thing where everything is
And
in one place. And the vendor programs and things like that. And I think the downturn really brought an awareness to full circle to everybody because you had your boards that would, fire the management company and every 3 years are getting a new management company and you're just not doing it right. And then only to find out nobody is going to say yes to you now because you have that reputation out there of
yeah,
firing people. And also, coming to these meetings makes them understand, this is a tough job and also the pay isn't that great, and also, it's so demanding
it
sometimes,
it
to have
does give
these
them
residents.
appreciation. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was
And
that time I think of now if people understand it more, all sides of it.
and you said something that caught my attention. It's a great industry. It's its own ecosystem. But what that means is reputation goes two ways. So it does become apparent to everybody in the industry, whether it's all the property management companies or the different vendors, whether it be roofers or landscapers, if there is an association that has a reputation out there for being difficult or always switching vendors every 3 months or whatever it is, that's known. And just like if you're a vendor and you have a bad reputation, that's, people find out that gets known well. So it happens the other way too. And I don't think board members always see that side of it,
They
that it's
don't.
a two-way street. Respect goes both ways.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they do have a tough job too. They're serving their time for nothing. But just a funny story. I had a phone call last year from a board member. She was up in New York, and but her property was in Sarasota. And I knew the property. I knew the manager of the property, and he had just left. And she said, "We're looking for a CAM. I really need your help." And I said, "Okay." I said, "What is the starting salary?" And she said, "Well, that's why our manager left because, he wanted 85,000." I said, "Barbara, you have a staff of 23. You have 2 cooling towers, and you have 2 high rises going up next year on either side of your building. So you're going to need someone that knows about construction defects and, the construction nearby, what to expect. You need someone that can manage all of that." And I said, she goes, "So what are you saying?" And I said, 6 figures bottom line, at least. You need to be paying
Yeah.
that person if you want a decent person in there. And I'll never forget, she said to me, "Oh, then I can get rid of the admin." And I said, "Sure, Barbara. Sure. If you want your manager, instead of handling the maintenance of your building and
Yeah.
operations, to also be pointing people to where the spa is and why the hot tub's not coming on, sure, sure, go ahead and do
Yeah.
it." I said,
But
"No."
that but you know what? I think this all comes down to, again, like when I first came down here, I didn't know anything about associations. I didn't know about how any of this worked. And I was just talking to somebody the other day. What other industry can you be a shareholder in a company one day and the next day you're voted onto the board and you're running that multi-million dollar company?
Right?
So board members, it's so important that they become educated, again, not just on the nuts and bolts, but to your point, thinking you can have somebody run a high rise with staff for less than $100,000, it's it's not going to happen. And if you find somebody that will do it, you're not going to be happy, and the owners won't be happy. So there's so much to learn. And I think that's where that interaction with other people in the industry comes in,
It really helps.
because you can read material, you can take a CEU course, you can whatever, but until you're talking to other people in the industry, you really don't know the lay of the land. And I think it's not, and it's not the board members' fault. It's nobody, unless you're in this industry, knows about it. So it takes a while to kind of get acclimated and figure it out.
Yeah.
But I hear that a lot too, where, oh no, well, we don't have to pay that much. It's not 1983. No, I'm thinking you might want to think about that. Yeah.
And it's so funny what you just said. They did find someone at 85,000. They lasted 3 weeks, and the old manager, they offered him 10% more than he asked for when he left to come
Huh,
back. And he did.
really?
And he did.
Yeah. But it's true. But that's why, again, for young people, or not even young people. I mean, I got into this later in life. I wasn't not a young person getting into this industry, but for anybody looking for an opportunity career wise, there is so much potential and so many rewards. You can earn very well. You can feel good about yourself that you're helping people in the meantime. But I would recommend it to anybody that's looking for a career change. Think about it. And for board members, all I have to say is there's a lot to learn, and digest everything you can, whether it's going to again, webinars, seminars, reading, listening to a radio show, or listening to a podcast. There's so much to learn. It's well worth the effort for sure.
Absolutely. And look at us. I mean, we started out in the CAM side, and now
Yeah.
we're on the vendor side, but really with the educational platform, we're really exercising both of those skills, so there's so many different ways that you can go with it.
That's the one thing too. And I told my kids when I was telling them about this industry, there's so many avenues. Once you're in, you realize, oh my gosh, there's this whole world I didn't know existed. And there's so many pieces to it. You might not find the exact piece that's the best fit in the beginning, but once you get in, there's so many opportunities out there. I have a friend that left a job as a rep for a vendor, and they were feeling a little down. And I said, you know what? You've got a great reputation in this industry. You're a hard worker. You will have 5 phone calls by the end of tomorrow looking to see if you're interested in helping somebody out with a position. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So,
Nice.
yeah, no, I have a passion for it. I love this industry. So what's on the forecast for you? What other ventures are you starting up? My gosh, Core, TMI. What- Any other acronyms that you just haven't thought of yet that you want
Well,
to?
I did mention the Cammies. I'm going to be doing
Oh,
some
the
salsa
Cammies. Yeah, there
dancing.
you go.
Well, dancing is my next, no, never.
Ballroom dancer, Kristen, ballroom dancer.
Right.
I like it. It's got a ring. It's got a
I
ring to
mean,
it.
after the canathon, you take a little breather. You got to report all those credits, and there's some little follow up to that. I really, season is kicking up, so all those events are kicking back up again, and
Yeah,
I'm just focusing in on those events, the topics, this new legislation has a lot of implications for CAMs, and some good, some not so good. I think a little bit unfair. And, it's sometimes up there in Tallahassee, they just don't connect the dots. I mean, even the
no,
attorney today on our panel, and I know you're getting into this topic this month as well, she said they directly, I mean, before you have your gray areas, but this year they directly conflict each other in 2 different parts. It's like, wait, you said this, but then wait. So,
yeah,
I'm sure that'll be revised, next year. So,
yeah.
I'm
2.0,
on that.
3.0. It always happens.
Yeah.
Even with the Surfside bill, the first one that came out, okay, everybody has to do this. Everybody's got to get their engineering reports. And then they realized, oh, there's not enough actual engineers that can handle this workload. Oh, okay, maybe we'll revisit that. So, I mean, the intentions are good.
Right.
I think mostly
Right.
the intentions are good coming out of Tallahassee, but sometimes, yeah, I think they get out in front of their skis and they're not thinking forward. They're not talking to the people that are actually on the ground. That's the thing, I
I
think.
mean, that's revolutionary, isn't it? Why not talk to the people in the field doing the work and see how these laws are really going to
No,
play out?
that would make sense. Come on, what are you thinking? We're
Brilliant.
talking we're talking government. I better be quiet, otherwise I'll be audited this year or something if I if I go on an
Yeah.
anti-government rant.
Well,
Good people working there. Good people in the government.
right there. I mean, I have been asked to do a Cammy Award dinner in Sarasota, and I said no.
Oh, really?
I said no.
No.
It's a lot of work. I mean, we started in January. It's a huge event,
Wow.
and I have a committee of 8 people connected to the TMI organization. So the board is also in the background helping to push,
Yeah.
sponsorships and things. So it's a lot of work. I want to do it, but I want somebody else to do it this time. I just want to go.
Delegate. Delegate. It's a good word. Look it up.
Delegate. Mm.
I'll rip out the page from the dictionary. I'll send it over to you.
What you
Excellent word. No, but hey, I just want to thank you so much. Seriously, it was like I said, it was just very important for me to have you as my first guest because I love what you do, and you're such a nice person. I mean,
thank
there are good people in this industry, but you're definitely at the top of that list. Really good person. Always been helpful. Always been supportive.
Aw.
And you're so entrenched into all the different aspects of this. I just thank you for being my first guest. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, and right back at you. Super nice guy. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this platform. I'm excited. I want to be a part of it.
All right. Well, officially as of today, you are. You're a founding member right now. So, all right.
I love that.
All right. Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks, Derek.
All right.
Have a good one.